At this hour, ousted Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife, First Lady Celia Flores, are in federal court right here in New York City to face narco-terrorism conspiracy charges. We watched earlier this morning as they arrived at the federal courthouse under heavy guard. This was just before 8 a.m. this morning. They were driven from the federal detention center in Brooklyn to a waiting helicopter. Then they were flown across the East River right into Manhattan, then driven to the courthouse in an armored vehicle. Maduro and his wife brought to the U.S. in handcuffs, escorted by federal agents on Saturday night. Maduro at times flashing a thumbs up. He was heard at one point wishing federal agents Happy New Year. The couple is being held separately at the jail facility in Brooklyn. They'll be in court today together, we believe. That jail, by the way, is the same facility being used for Ghislaine Maxwell, Luigi Mangione, and El Chapo. Maduro and his wife were extracted, as you know, from their compound in Caracas following a U.S. military operation that was executed over the weekend, Operation Absolute Resolve. We're learning more about it. The scope of it involved more than 150 U.S. warplanes, fighter jets, bombers, launching from 20 different bases and ships.
So while the Trump administration claims that this is about law enforcement, they're using the superseding indictment as a weapon for regime change. I'm Kim from Kim's Breaking Point, and on this channel, we dive deep into the world's most critical news stories, breaking down complex global events to give you the facts that you need to know. Today, we're looking at the capture and arraignment of Nicolás Maduro. Nicolás Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, are now in a Manhattan courtroom facing charges that could carry a maximum of life in prison. Their specific charges include narco-terrorism conspiracy, conspiracy to import cocaine into the U.S., possession of machine guns and destructive devices, and conspiracy to possess those weapons. The U.S. government is alleging that for 25 years, Maduro used the Venezuelan government to partner with groups like the FARC, the Sinaloa cartel, and Tren de Aragua to flood the U.S. with drugs. They even claimed he used his time as a foreign minister to provide diplomatic passports to drug traffickers. In court, Maduro stood defiant in his orange jumpsuit garb, telling the judge through the interpreter, "I am a decent man. I am still a president of my country." Imagine a city where a police chief ignores a neighbor's active warrant for a violent assault because they are friends, even inviting him over for a barbecue. But then that same chief breaks down the door of another neighbor to arrest them on a minor's decades-old charge solely because that neighbor has a beautiful backyard the chief wants to build a pool on. That's exactly what's going on right here. This isn't a metaphor for justice. It's a home invasion. And it's exactly what the United States did to Venezuela on January 3rd under the Operation Absolute Resolve. The hypocrisy here is breathtaking. Just over the holidays, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited the U.S. and even celebrated at Mar-a-Lago despite the International Criminal Court issuing an arrest warrant for him regarding his alleged crimes in Gaza. Why wasn't he snatched? Because the U.S. doesn't recognize the ICC. Yet when it comes to Maduro, the U.S. treats its own domestic indictment as global mandate to launch 150 aircraft and bomb at a sovereign nation. As analysts have noted, this is the Putinization of U.S. foreign policy, where accountability only applies to those who don't submit to American interests. However, the sources make it clear that the criminal label is a convenient way to cover up what Trump calls the Denroe Doctrine. He has openly stated, "We're in the oil business," and claims that the U.S. will run the country and use Venezuela's oil, the largest reserves in the world, to reimburse itself for the operation. Maduro's lawyer, Barry Pollock, who previously secured the release of Julian Assange, is rightly arguing that this is an illegal military abduction of a sitting head of state who should enjoy sovereign immunity. We must not forget the 80 people killed in these strikes, including 32 Cubans and the innocent civilians in Caracas's apartment complexes. Celia Flores even appeared in the court with visible bruising to her forehead and fractured ribs from the raid. This isn't about drugs. It's about resource imperialism. We are watching a hostile takeover of the nation's backyard, and we cannot let the sheriff's badge blind us from the crime. If you found this breakdown helpful, give this video a like and hit that notification bell. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more deep dives and breaking news content just like this. I'm Kim, and I'll see you in the next one.